Good? Okay. Trustees had, open workshop, October 29th, it is 5:38. I'll take a roll call. Trustee Alonso.
Present.
Trustee Cassius.
Here.
Trustee Cruz.
Here.
Trustee Finnerty.
Here.
Trustee Munoz is absent. Trustee Ryan.
Here.
Trustee Bellato.
Here.
Vice President Wojtak is absent. And President Broderick is here. Trustees, everything's been sent home. Approval of minutes, communications. I was wondering if I could have a trustee to volunteer for a motion in a second. Trustee Bellato. Who would like a second? Trustee Cruz. Trustees, we added a commendation. One of our students, he's a 5th grade student at Mary J. Donahue, will be with us tonight. He performed a Heimlich maneuver on a fellow student and probably saved his life. And I apologize by the typo of, should be the committee. Okay, so that'll be by the committee of the whole. Curriculum committee met. Any resolutions that were not done at committee were sent home by Dr. Degnan. So I don't have anything there to go over. Moving along to finance, building and grounds, same thing. All of those were sent home, and there was a draft that was sent out today, which included there's a mileage reimbursement rate that was added at 35 cents? 35 cents.
Yes.
So that takes care of that. So that brings us, and that was seconded, I'll take a step back. Curriculum was moved by Trustee Bellato, seconded by Trustee Cassius. Finance was moved by Trustee Ryan, seconded by President Broderick, which brings us to personnel. We have a few to do inside, but I'd like to ask Mr. Topaz, Resolution C7, C8, and C9, a monthly resolution on harassment, and I'm going to hand out a backup sheet for one of the other resolutions.
Thank you, Dr. Maida. In accordance with Bayonne Board of Education Policy 5512, during this reporting period, 6 incidents of harassment, intimidation, and bullying have been reported and investigated at the following schools. 1 incident at Midtown Community School has been investigated and confirmed. Strategies and resources have been provided to the victim to assist in the recovery process. Consequences and remedial measures are given to the offender. All documentation is being retained by the anti-bullying coordinator. 2 incidents at Dr. Walter F. Robinson, 1 incident at Philip G. Vroom, 1 incident at Nicholas Oresco, and 1 incident at Midtown Community School. In these 5 cases, there was no confirmed evidence of the investigated acts of HIB. Strategies, resources, and remedial measures were implemented. All documentation is being retained by the school anti-bullying coordinators. That is C7. C8 is Week of Respect, which was October 7th to the 11th, to prevent harassment, intimidation, bullying in our schools. We had great appropriate activities to improve our school climate. And that was sent home in a weekly update. C9, School Violence and Awareness Week. You received a letter from our superintendent. Again, we did have great appropriate activities all last week. As you see here, you will have the 2019-2020 School Safety and Security Plan. We did meet with our district safety team on October 9th. We had the police chief, we had the fire chief, we had the OEM director. We had a great meeting, and we actually ran a lockdown drill to have that district team observe one of our lockdown drills at the high school. Also in front of you, it is A mandate that we report twice a year, all violence and vandalism. That report is from January to June. Again, that is from January 1, 2019 to June 30th, 2019. And again, that is a mandate for you. And then C10 is the school safety and security plan that you will receive inside. Our staff members received an electronic copy, and our superintendent has sent an SOA, and we do have a resolution to memorialize that tonight. Thank you, Dr. Maynard. That's all I have.
Okay, and we have one or two items on personnel, but they're inside. I sent home some additions. They were resolution, let's see, Gerald Buzz number 29 to 33, which I sent home, and these are all students that we have for services, the Dyslexia Center for a classified student, and so on. These all came in after our committee meetings, but these are all services that these students that are entitled to. D1, stipulation of settlement, that'll be for inside, and there was a student residency hearing, which will be resolution D2, and that will also be inside. One other item, it came up at the last two board meetings about our board policies. The superintendent reached out to Strauss Esme, which is the company that most school districts deal with. He was able to secure us for no cost to the district. They're going to be reviewing each and every one of our board policies and regs. Super, if you'd like to add anything to that?
No, and the policies that we have online will be, at the conclusion of this, will be searchable very easily on our website. So we're going to make it user-friendly for everybody.
All right, so unless there's anything, Mr. President, trustees?
I have a question,
Sure.
as always. Sorry. I'm still very, very, very much confused, and I know I'm more of a verbal person, but I'm looking at two purchase orders, and I've asked this question numerous times before. Every January, we contract inline. What is the cost of a contract to inline every January? When we do the reorg meeting, we pay a contractual price every January. What is that?
It's a contract not to exceed a set amount. So we don't actually pay a cost of the contract. We have a contract not to exceed a set amount for them for the year.
So now I should be comfortable looking at a purchase order, one for almost $20,000 and another one for almost $13,000. So I'm looking at two purchase orders right now in October for almost, goodness gracious, I have to do the math, almost $33,000. So we don't pay them anything in January. We are just fulfilling our prescribed amount.
For maintenance and repairs, we have a lot of units that are out of service that are no longer made, so the parts are expensive. We did speak to Dan today about looking at inline contract moving forward to see if there's any other cost-effective ways that we could do going forward.
I'm looking for a cost-effective way. I'm not seeing this because I wish I could. Seriously, take a look at all the inline POs. I'm seeing two. I don't know how many POs for inline the rest of the trustees are seeing, but I'm seeing two for $33,000, and this is the month of October. If we could go back from October to last February, how much money are we actually paying? And this is one of our biggest expenses. And I'm not, for some reason, I'm not comfortable with this. I'm really not.
So, I know I wasn't here for the purchase order, so I don't know exactly what you're speaking to. However, one of the major things we're going to be looking at is all of our maintenance costs, not just repairs. One of the big things that Mr. Pagoo implemented, and kind of it is the correct way, is purchasing laws prohibit from doing purchase orders for each individual item. So if you're going to go out and buy whatever it may be, you don't want to do a purchase order for that. You want to do what's called a running purchase order, which is what those are, which covers a whole bunch of purchases that you could potentially make. And then the board approves them not to exceed that. But we can discuss.
All right, this is the way the English teacher looks at it. Every January, you give inline a pocketbook filled with money, and you tell them, make sure you spend every single dollar that's in that pocketbook. That's the way my mind thinks. I'm sorry. And nobody's looking at their, in that pocketbook for coupons. This is like the third time I brought this up. I think we really need to look more closely at the cost for inline. I do.
Well, and if I could, I would have thought that the contract, basically getting a contract with a company, whether it's them or the architects, whatever, is the fact that, let's say, in the case of inline, that, you know, we know there's somebody we could call at 2 in the morning when something goes down, and you have someone that's going to come. I think that's maybe the more importance of the contract in January. Now, the amount, I don't know how that works, is maybe just to give it a number to say we're not going to go over a certain amount, but I would hope that each item is looked at by, you know, by our people and say, wait a minute, you know, you're charging $20,000, but we know for a fact this is a $10,000 job. I'm sure it's, hopefully that's the process. But I always assumed that the contract was basically that we have somebody we know is going to come, as opposed to I'm calling up the Affinity, you know, in line and say, hey, can you come? No, I can't. You know, I want someone I know that if something's broke, they're getting here that within a very short period of time. So.
Well, how about if you call up Affinity people and Affinity says, yeah, I can come for $5 less an hour than the Broderick people can. I think we really need to look at this more closely.
But I agree with that's the purpose of the January contract, that if someone has a better offer for us, in general, I think that's who we'd go with.
Okay, thank you. I have one, well, no, Mr. Neese has to speak first, I'm sorry.
No, I'm good.
You done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you done even?
No, I'm not done.
All right.
It's been brought to my attention, and one of the initiatives of our former superintendent was to bring us back to Middle States accreditation. And I know Dr. Degnan, in charge of curriculum, has been working on that for maybe 2 years. And now it's come to a halt. Why are we not seeking Middle States accreditation? CUSAC, we all know in this room, CUSAC, everybody, every public school in the entire state must abide by that. That's like the minimum. Middle States increases the rigor. I'm not understanding why we stepped away after putting 2 years into it, into the, increasing the academic rigor, not only, our goals, our vision, our instruction. Why did we stop it? And I guess this question is more directed towards Dr. Degnan or perhaps Mr. Neese.
Under my direction. Actually, there's kind of multiple reasons, but I'll just frame it out this way. Number one, as a Middle States evaluator, which I am, and going to visit schools, Middle States is great. At my former district, I did the same thing, and then we reevaluated. I'm concerned that we're going to spend probably about $10,000 for the accreditation process, and we were only accrediting the high school. When if you're going to do Middle States, it should be district-wide. Why use all the resources and only accredit one school when you should do the entire district? Because obviously we want to look from the top down, from the business office to curriculum, personnel, the superintendent's office, a Board of Education. We want everything, right? We want to follow the Deming cycle of continuous improvement. So I'm not comfortable just accrediting a high school when our district, there's been some challenges. So we should actually look at the entire district from top to bottom. So I reached out to Middle States, and I told the principal at the high school, hold off on just the high school. I want to talk to the board to talk about, do you want to evaluate the district? And that's a conversation, well, I might as well have it now. I would suggest if you're going to do it, do the entire district, and we do that process. Also selecting the exact model that we want to follow, and also understanding that there's a lot of cost associated with it. And New Jersey has the #1 schools in the United States, and we're not mandated to have Middle States. Middle States is more for a Catholic school, or they actually accredit colleges. But the interesting thing is that through CUSAC, and we're having a look-back year this year, so CUSAC's coming in again, and CUSAC is a Quality Single Accountability Consortium by the state of New Jersey. They come in and top to bottom look at our schools and make sure that we're doing what we say we're doing. But so my question would be, does the board want to do this? Is this a directive from the board? And if so, I think it's actually better to look at the whole. Why? I don't understand why you just wouldn't do the whole district and spend all that money, but yet only have the school certified and not the entire district, right? I mean, if we're going to spend the money, we might as well look at the whole thing. That's a different process. Kind of the same, but it involves all the stakeholders from the community to get involved and to have meetings. So I just want to clarify that with everybody before you spend the money and then you go, wait a minute, what about all the grammar schools? Because when you put a fresh eye on everything, we see something from a different lens. So that was the reason behind it, and this is something as when I started with the policies and regulations, there were questions about that, and well, we need them looked at. So that's why we're at that spot. And like I said, I'm very familiar with the Middle States accreditation process as one of those people who travels around. Which, by the way, I'm leaving next week for about 5 weeks, and we're going to be, I think, in Hawaii or something, evaluating those schools. But when I get back, I'll be well versed to talk about that. But but no, that would be the reason. So that's something to kind of think about, and we can revisit this and talk about it the next time we meet and say, if you want to digest it a little bit, and if you want to go in that model, it's great. We support it, and then we go at it that for the whole district, so you really get a bird's eye view of everything we're doing.
I would have.
Well, Mr. Neese, totally understand what you're saying. It should be district-wide. Totally understand, because we're going to have our grammar school children come up to our high school, hopefully. And that will really set the standard for the high school. However, when I was doing my research, I realized a number of things after doing my research. Number one, most importantly, many competitive colleges won't even look at a high school transcript unless it is from a Middle States accredited high school. They won't even look at it because it's not considered as highly valued as one. Number two, I have a copy of our transcript that went out in June. And on our transcript, on our official transcript, it does state that we are Middle States accredited, when indeed we are not. There is something wrong with that. I have a problem with it. Take that off the transcript. We are not Middle States accredited, right, nor should it be on the transcript. And we all know about those people who have been taken to court because of fraudulent activity. We send out a transcript. If we're not Middle States accredited, it shouldn't be on our transcript, and if it is, it's a fraud. So take it off our transcript. I am very, obviously you can tell by my voice, I am very adamantly opposed to saying that we are Middle States accredited when indeed we are not, and we are no longer in pursuit of the accreditation, and I have a very big problem with that as well. I am an educator, and I am very, very adamant. We have to raise the rigor and keep the rigor. By not making us accredited, lowers our rigor. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Got it.
I would have two questions on that. Just, one is, I agree with Trustee Finnerty that I think it's something that, as far as college students are looking to send, I think it's always a positive thing and it's a helpful thing. I think that's important. I think Ms. Nishu said it'd be approximately $10,000. That's what
Yeah, I
it
think that's
costs
what it was,
for
right,
the
Carl?
high school.
Somewhere around there, about 10,000. Yeah, about
All right.
it'll cost you about 10,000.
I would be in total favor of redoing as soon as possible, the Middle States process. My only question, now I wouldn't be against the citywide, the district-wide process, but I'd like to know what would that cost us, because once again, like we always say, there's only so much money in that barrel, and yeah. But I do know how important it is for high school students to say they're coming from an accredited high school. So I think that's important. But so depending on the amount of money, whether it's district-wide or whether it's just continue with the high school process. So it's just my opinion.
Thank you.
Okay, on a lighter note,
Yes,
would you
ma'am.
be able to look at Resolution A27 and maybe just explain this a little bit to us?
What is that?
It's A27, it's the beehive.
Okay.
Please.
Okay. Got it. Bees.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So there's an organization that would like to place. Well, it's multifaceted, but in reference to gardening, those kind of things. And during that conversation of having a garden down at the end of town, the conversation turned to our mascot is the bee, and how in the heck don't we have a beehive or something on our roof or something for the bees? I mean, think about it. Just think about it for a second, right? We don't have any bees. So the idea was we could put a beehive, small beehive, on the top of our school building and attract bees. Seems like a no-brainer to me. So that's what that resolution is, to put a beehive.
Okay, and a question would
Go.
be, is it any cost to us?
There's no cost to us for the beehive. Now, I've learned a lot about bees, and I'll share some of these things because I just want to put everybody's mind at ease. Okay, so I've come to glean or to learn about bees. Apparently, there are new beekeeping regulations. All right, there are. I actually have new beekeeping regulations. So I'll save that for later. There was a story done about bees in Bayonne and the fact that our students actually worked on a beehive. That was back in 2016. I've also learned about the Northwest New Jersey Beekeepers Association, which would help us. We also have an employee in our district that is a beekeeper and is trained on handling the bees. And he actually works in maintenance. And we would have that put up on the roof at no cost. We've also met or spoke to the New Jersey Beekeepers Association. There have been bees put on a roof of a public library that they had 120 honeybees. In Berkeley, down in South Jersey, the middle school, they put a beehive in the garden. There is a church, put a beehive on its roof. Greenhouses have put bees on the roof, and we are since we're the Bayonne bees, I mean, it kind of makes sense to me.
I think it's a wonderful idea.
Yes,
Don't get me-
ma'am.
Don't get me wrong. I
So do
think
I.
it's a great idea. But I just want to make sure it's not going to cost us money.
So the only
Whether our
thing,
insurance may have to go up because
Okay.
this might be a liability.
so the
having something
only
like this.
thing I think to put everybody's mind at ease with having a bee is, why don't I get Mitch, would your firm have a problem getting us like a legal opinion?
No, not at all.
Okay, so with that, just to be sure, because I don't, and I did a little bit more research in reference to bees, they swarm. So we don't want a lot of beehives, we'll have one beehive.
Yeah.
But if they
Because yours,
swarm,
this says 2.
yes, yeah. So, meaning a lot like, I don't know, 4, 5, 3, more than
Okay.
that. But, yes, I would just
All right.
like to put everybody's mind at ease, because that has come up often in reference to EpiPens, those kind of things.
Okay.
But it won't have access to the kids. The idea is the fact that we have a beehive. We're the bees. I mean, we should have a bee. Now, I think that's pretty awesome. Now, I will say this in reference to bees. I did purchase a bee costume. We are going on Tuesday over to North Bergen on a bus with all the captains of the fall sports, the cheerleaders, with the band major, or majorette, I don't know what, and with student council. And we're going to see the superintendent of North Bergen, and we're going to deliver honey, because we're the bees. The game is on to get some school spirit, to get the kids excited. We're gonna go to North Bergen, deliver bees, and they told me that the Bruins eat honey, but the bees will sting you if you take too much. So I spoke to the superintendent there. We're coming, like Eddie Organ says, we're coming. So Bayonne is coming. And I just met with the football coach, and now people are a little nervous because we have to go there and win, right? I mean, you got to win. So the game is on for North Bergen.
So we're going to trade them honey for bear scat.
Listen, I got a bear head hanging on my wall. I will bring that with. In fact, yeah, I'm gonna actually bring the bear head in tomorrow and hang it in my office.
We have,
Getting back
Yes, sir.
to rooftop bees,
Yes.
the only concern I have is that we also have solar panels up there, which could be, dangerous if you touch them the wrong way. So how do these two interface?
The beehives would be up on one of the, I don't want to call it a tower? A tower, yeah, it would be up on a tower.
And we have no solar panels up there?
No.
So we don't have to worry about
No, yeah. Our beehive person found us a
So we'll put them
great
an extra
spot.
story up so
Yes,
they'll
yes.
bounce better when they
Exactly.
fall off. So
I was under the impression, I didn't know we had somebody that was a beekeeper. I always thought who took care of the bees was basically the vice principals and the deans now, but.
There you go.
Uh,
No, we've got to keep her.
So I remember being stung several times when I was here, so.
No, but Joe, seriously, a National Geographic magazine this past summer came out with a whole article on how serious it is
It's chronic.
that when we are losing these honeybees, it is going to affect the entire ecosystem of not just the U.S., but the entire world.
And our
that-
food chain.
And our food, and as a result, the food chain, because of the flowers and because of everything else. I think it'd be a very, very good lesson. I mean, are we still maintaining the biodome to some degree? I'm sure we can figure out a way with the beehive, because they are essential. The bees, the honeybees, are essential to the well-being of this earth. National Geographic had a great article.
I read that article.
Did you read it? And it was sometime over the summer, as I recall, and I was just like, damn, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Fabulous. But it's not cheap to be, I know somebody in my family who wanted to maintain beehives. It's not a cheap hobby. It's not. It's not like it's going to cost you $500. So who's ever willing to do this for us, grab it while we can.
So we'll get this for November. Mix that?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Selling our honey at the farmer's.
Absolutely, we're selling honey, and
They're every
we're just not
Tuesday.
gonna let bears from, or the Bruins from,
Fundraiser.
North Bergen eat it.
Take care of them.
Good, thank you.
Okay, just one other item, Resolution C-23, Girls Who Code. This is going to be tabled because it's sort of a duplicate. We have this on a separate resolution in a group, so I don't want to do it twice. So just make a notation, I'll announce it at the meeting. C-23 is being tabled. Any other questions? If there's no other questions, we're going to adjourn to executive session for personnel and legal items. It is 6:08.